What's going on, guys? This is Jordan Miller. I'm the owner and founder of Breathe Heavy, and in this video I'm going to detail a story I wrote for Medium about documenting Britney Spears' conservatorship for the last 13 years, as well as the Free Britney movement. But before we dive into the video, let's play that intro. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for the support, and if you're new here, welcome. A lot of these videos lately have been about Britney's conservatorship and the Free Britney movement, and that's because I feel almost a sense of obligation to be talking about it because I am seeing what I perceive as an injustice taking place before our very eyes, and so I want as many people to know about it as possible to hopefully inspire some change. One way that I'm doing that is by talking about Britney's conservatorship, which she's been entangled in for the last 13 years on different platforms. For example, I'm relatively new to YouTube, so me talking about Britney's conservatorship here on YouTube is ideally attracting a new audience, which means that new eyes are gonna be on this information, which is extremely important. Because the more people that know about this and this circumstance that's going on, the more awareness there is. Another platform that I'm essentially tapping into to raise awareness for this Free Britney movement is a blog publishing website called Medium. The platform was launched in 2012 by a man named Evan Williams. Williams was previously the co-founder of Blogger and Twitter. The obvious difference between Twitter and Medium is that on Twitter you're limited to a certain amount of characters, but on Medium you're encouraged to expand your thoughts. So in addition to the video content that I've been creating, I decided to write a story for Medium and publish it in the hopes that it will be picked up by a publication or perhaps curated by Medium themselves. If this does happen, that means that thousands of new eyes are going to be on this article that I've written, which is extremely important because that's new people that may have no idea what's going on to Britney, and this will be introducing them to the topic for the very first time. So I wanted to write a story that was digestible for them to kind of get a grasp as to what's happening, because there's a lot of information to absorb, especially because this legal situation has been happening for 13 years. So it was important to me to write something that was semi-simplified, but at the same time included facts and details that I feel like a lot of big publications leave out. There's so much information out there about the Free Britney movement and the conservatorship that someone just kind of stepping into this world for the first time, I think they tend to get overwhelmed and they don't even know where to start or what to believe or what to think. My intention with this story is not to necessarily persuade people to think a certain way or to change anyone's minds. And ultimately, I want people to walk away from this story with their own opinion and their own interpretation of what's gone down. One thing that's really interesting to mention before we go any further is that I wrote this story from the first person point of view, my point of view, and it essentially gives an overview of how Breathe Heavy started and how over the course of 17 years it's evolved from being essentially a Britney Spears fan site into a home base for activism. Obviously, when I started this website in 2004, Britney was doing the Toxic music video. I was 15 years old. I had no idea what was going to unfold over the years. But I do want to say that I'm extremely proud of Breathe Heavy and all of the readers that participate on a daily basis. I truly do feel like we're moving the needle in terms of gaining autonomy for Britney. And while there's still such a huge lack of transparency and we don't actually know what she truly thinks about things or what goes on behind closed doors, all I know is that where there's smoke, there's fire. And there's so many instances about this situation that don't sit well with me. And so it was important to me to sit down, get my thoughts out, and write. Another thing that's worth mentioning is I actually haven't written a formal story in more than a year. I used to only write formal stories on Breathe Heavy, but I actually got burnt out because of how much I had to write on a daily basis and just the compound effect of that over the years. I just did not want to write for a really long time. So instead, in the last year, I've focused on community building and marketing. And while I'm still very much excited to continue doing that, it was really refreshing to write. The story that I wrote is probably the best story I think I've ever written. It just kind of came flowing out of me. It only took me a couple days to write. Another thing that I'd like to add is that this article features essentially an interview with a woman named Lisa McCarley. Lisa is a California estate and probate attorney, and she has a lot of insight into what goes on with conservatorships in California. To give you a little teaser, she does state that there appears to be evidence of corruption in the Los Angeles probate court system, which is a huge thing to say because that just reaffirms kind of the thought process I've had regarding Britney's conservatorship this entire time, and she offers some really invaluable insight. She also defines clearly what a conservatorship is and what a conservatee, which would be Britney in this case, what those persons' rights are. And based off of her definition, Britney was not offered these basic rights that all conservatees should get. And that's just another glaring instance of why this conservatorship situation is unjust. So it was really profound to actually be able to write all of this in an article and sum it up all together and include things that I want people to know. I would also like to give a special thank you to Lawyers for Britney. They helped me fact check this article. They have a little bit of a controversial recent history amongst the Britney fans, but I was personally able to set all of that aside simply because I wanted this article to be completely accurate or as accurate as possible. And they have a lot of insight as to what's gone down with this conservatorship, what is in court documents, and so their insight was really valuable to me, so thank you. So to sum that all up, basically, I think that I put together an amazing piece. I really encourage you to read it, and I'm really curious to know what your thoughts are on this article. Please don't be afraid to offer constructive criticism as long as it's just not hate speech. I do want to hear from you guys. I think that's really important regarding the situation. A recurring theme amongst the Free Britney movement and Britney's conservatorship is this kind of lack of transparency and people being silenced, and so I want you guys to be outspoken. Now I'd like to end this video by reading a few of the sentences in the beginning of this story. So once you're done checking out videos, please head over to the link in the description and give my story a read. I've documented Britney Spears' conservatorship case for the last 13 years. Chapter 1. You're gonna have to see through my perspective. Britney Spears' hands are tied when it comes to ridding herself of permanent, personal, and financial conservatorships. Since day one, I've documented every detail of Britney's never-ending legal tragedy. For 13 years, I've had a front row seat watching one of the most prolific icons of our generation surrender her independence to people with an insatiable appetite for power, money, and control. I'm Jordan Miller. I'm the owner and founder of BreatheHeavy.com, a pop music news community with 300,000 visitors a month. I started Breathe Heavy as a Britney fan site in 2004 when I was a sophomore in high school. That same year, Britney was shimmying and shimmering diamonds in the Toxic music video. We all witnessed her stratospheric rise to fame. I loved Britney the pop star. Little did I know in time, I'd come to adore Britney the person much more. All right guys, thank you so much for watching. It's greatly appreciated. I'm so looking forward to hearing from you. And if you haven't already, please make sure you smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and the notification bell. That would really help me out a lot. Thank you again, and I'll see you in the next video. Outro.